Awesome. So, welcome to another episode of Fight the Burnout. Today we have Kristen Krash. So she does fitness and nutrition targeted towards, is it roller derby?
Yeah, roller derby athletes is originally how we started. We now work a lot with the general public and people that just like want to live a more athletic lifestyle.
Awesome. Perfect. Cool.
Yeah.
Better to get you to say it than me because I'll probably get it wrong. But Chrissy and I met back doing the Tony Robbins event. Actually, I can't even remember how I randomly ran into him. We ended up chatting. But we'll go over that in a second. But yeah, so we ran into each other. I've been following her on Instagram. She's doing some amazing stuff with helping people. She lives an amazing lifestyle, has lots of fun. I can see she doesn't really get burned out all that much anymore. But I do know that in your past, we were just discussing before we started recording about doing 2-a-days, which I totally understand those, doing my special like ops like type training stuff, doing like our version of SWAT team and that, and VIP protection was what I went on to. So being like Secret Service. So I know totally about that. Ultimately, everybody knows my story about burnout. So Chrissy, I'll let you kind of, go and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about, your background in that.
Yeah, for sure. What's up, everybody? My name is Kristen Krash. So, I feel like a lot of my life was burnout. Before I found roller derby was actually a really pivotal point in my pivotal, that's a word, right? No, it was a really pivotal point in my life. I had graduated from college. Everyone says, go to school, get a good job. You'll graduate, you go to school, you go to college, you go get a job, and everything's going to be super awesome. Well, I ended up graduating from college as a child development major. Naturally, that translated into me becoming a bartender naturally. And I just ended up in a really unhealthy lifestyle. I was a smoker, I was a drinker, I was a fast food eater, I wasn't taking care of my body, I wasn't working out, I wasn't doing any of that stuff. And I was just basically like working and drinking 7 nights a week. And I mean, obviously that leads to a lot of health issues, overweight, low energy. But thankfully, when you're a bartender, at least you get to sleep in the morning. So there's a little bit less burnout, but you just sort of live on this low level hum of just feeling like shit.
Yeah.
And when I was in 2006, I came across the sport of roller derby, and I'm like, I don't know what that is, but I really feel like I should do it. And for those of you that don't know, we roller skate around on like old school quad skates in a circle and like smash into each other. It's kind of like if chess and rugby were on roller skates, but with no ball in a circle. and all I knew when I started playing with the sport was that I really wanted to be great at it, but I was this overweight, out of shape, smoking bartender. And so it really caused me to transform my life. I started, I quit a lot of the drinking. I got rid of the cigarettes. I started eating healthy. I started training, which obviously made my body feel a lot better. But as I got really into athletic training and started playing some relatively high level roller derby, I was playing for Los Angeles. We were number 4 in the world at one point, but obviously that led to 2-a-days. And so now I'm like training twice a day, plus going to like, 20 hours of roller derby practice a week. Your body's just getting beaten up. At that point I had started my fitness company. So, I'm coaching athletes, I'm working with them all day long and then fitting in all these workouts and things around it. And I really took me probably a full 10 years of roller derby to start understanding self-care and start understanding the concept of like taking a break. Right. And then similarly, as an entrepreneur building a successful business, like I really didn't have an off button. I'm sure you can relate.
Yeah.
I didn't have an off button, and people would be like, dude, maybe you should like take a day off. And I'm like, I don't even understand what that means. Like, what would I do? Like, I really loved what I did, genuinely. But there did come a point where, you realize that you've become this machine, which makes you very sort of like one-sided. And it wasn't even honestly until I moved down to Costa Rica that I really started looking at like, what does a balanced lifestyle look like? And for me, it's really become a balance of rest and stretching and good food and going to bed early and really like being in tune with my body to know, hey, you've surfed 3 hours a day, twice a day for the last 3 days. Maybe let's have a rest day. right? And
So
just
much
be,
fun.
but it's so much fun. It's so hard. Like yesterday, it was like a couple hours in the morning, went to the gym in the afternoon, and then surfed in the evening, because it's that athlete lifestyle. It's like there's so many things you want to do, but you have to take pauses, otherwise there's injury. And that's, on the physical side, but mentally too. Like if you burn yourself out mentally, then you just end up like having mental crashes, mental breakdowns, depression. Like, so it really, it's been a long journey, probably about a 14-year journey, but I feel like I'm at a point now where I really have created a lifestyle for myself of, working online with my business, finding some hobbies that I like to do, finding some non-sport hobbies that I like to do, like playing the ukulele, things you can do every day without hurting your body. But yeah, so I feel like I'm in a really great place now. So that's why I was so excited to come on your podcast. I was like, bro, I know everything about burnout. Let's go.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Yeah. It's funny you say that because like ultimately I left the police because of burnout, like PTSD, which turned into depression, anxiety, and ultimately massive, massive burnout is what the counselor identified literally first session. My life I'm still alive probably because of her and where I'm at. But it's funny because you say, you identify it, like you identified it in roller derby. I identified it when I didn't identify it. I got dragged to it and it got thrown in my face. But, and then I took a 2-month motorcycle trip to go find and reconnect myself in the States, camping, nice. Literally forcing myself to talk to people. Like this was not me 4 years ago.
Wow.
I would sit in the corner at parties and not want to say a word because I was like, no, I don't trust any of you guys. Go away.
Oh man. Yeah. I can't even imagine you like that.
Yeah, I know. Even friends of mine were like, what? but it's but then becoming an entrepreneur, it's like it hits you in different ways. But I also feel like once you identify what burnout actually means to you, like what it actually looks like to you as a person, you start to identify it before it kicks hardcore in again. And you start to go, oh, wait a second, that's me going backwards. I don't want to go there again. Okay, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? But until you bring that awareness to it, it isn't. So on that, Chrissy, so that people know exactly what you kind of identify as like your burnout, well, it could be like your worst stage of burnout that you've experienced. What would you say that is?
So I think I define burnout now a couple different ways. I would say definitely like in my life, the greatest burnout that I had was I was working 3 jobs before I started my own business. I was substitute teaching, I was tutoring chess, I was teaching spelling, all in Los Angeles, all on different sides of the city. Like we're talking going downtown to Santa Monica in the middle of rush hour, only to turn around and have to go back downtown for roller derby practice. So I would literally wake up at like 5:45 a.m., substitute teach inner city where like literally people were getting shot out front and just be stressed out all day. I would leave there. I would drive from inner city up to like Malibu to go tutor these like bougie little kids in spelling, which would take me hours to get there. From there, I would then drive across town and like go to roller derby practice, which takes a couple hours on the 10 freeway, and then to get to practice, and then practice from like 7 to 10 p.m., only to drive all the way across LA to go to sleep by midnight and get up at 5:45 and do it again. And my motto at that point was, I'll sleep when I die. Like there was no end in sight. I hadn't found a business opportunity yet. Like I didn't really, it was just, I was on this autopilot and I was exhausted and I would get sick all the time and it was just terrible. And so for me, the first out of burnout was when I started my own business. And so for me, as I started to be able to, the idea of creating my own schedule, like if I could take all of that driving out and all of those different jobs out, if I could just make enough that like I could work from home, all of a sudden I had all these hours in the day, which allowed me to like catch my breath, get some rest. So that was probably the worst burnout, I would say. These days, I define burnout a little bit differently. For me, I am acutely aware on a daily basis what my level of burnout is. Like, for example, you sent me over, you know, the scheduling for this conference, for this podcast. And in the past, like old me would have looked at the times that were available, which were like 7, 8, and 9 p.m. And I would have been like, well, I just got to do it. I really want to do this podcast. I just got to do it. And new me emails you and is like, hey, I totally want to do this, but I just want to let you know I check out mentally of everything after 5 p.m. After 5 p.m., I don't make my brain work. So if we can make it happen during the day, I'm super in, right? Because I just refuse to put myself in those situations anymore where I'm just mentally exhausted and shoving my way through. And it really comes down to setting boundaries. And then similarly, you know, on the physical side, like I mentioned, you know, even now living in Costa Rica, designing my best life, like physically as an athlete, it is easy to burn out. And so I do have to really, you know, check myself of like, ooh, like how hard was it to get up this morning? Because if I'm dragging my ass suffering out of bed just to go surfing, like, does that serve me or does that not? And some days, you know, you're like, but I just want to get in the water. But a lot of those days you have to go, you know what? I'm going to sleep in. There's waves here tomorrow. You know, they're not going to turn the wave machine off anytime soon. And just really recognizing that need for rest and sleep.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you brought that up, because obviously my current, you know, employment, business, fun time, hobby, whatever you want to call it,
Empire.
Is to help people, like fitness wise, to join the police force. And the same thing I said to them, I was like, yes, you need to push, because there's that point where you need to push through that, oh, I just don't want to get out of bed. But you also do need to listen to yourself as well and go, is this me being a bitch? Or is this me going, is this my body going, nah, man, you've been going way too hard for way too long. Let's have a little sleep in and let's do it later on. You know, because I do the same thing. I mean, I powerlift. I run. I've run half marathons. I ride a motorcycle more often than not, so I can go see things. But it is that. I love that you said that. So obviously you got a team with what you currently go. You were going to say something.
Yeah, I was going to say, just kind of off of what you said, like I actually work with a lot of my clients on this. I tell them I am going to be the only quote unquote personal trainer that you've ever had that tells you to stay home and not go to the gym. Because so many people think that skipping the gym is not health. Like, oh, well, but if I got to go to the gym because I got to be healthy. It's like, no, you have a fucking fever and you're exhausted and you didn't sleep last night. Like, what is healthy for you right now is to stay in bed. And so we really, really, in our program, we celebrate people that build what we call the suck it up muscle of sometimes you just have to exercise your suck it up muscle and get the fuck up and go to the gym. But we also really celebrate someone who's like, hey, my win this week is I exercised self-care and I skipped my workout because I knew my body needed it.
I love that. I preach that hardcore, because my biggest thing on why I believe I got so burned out, like within the place, was I had no self-care. Like, I tell work to piss off. But when it came to everybody else around me, like my close family and friends and that, I'd put them first over everything. And so literally I would be like, oh, it does, you know, like with my wife, I'd want to go shooting, and my wife, and I'd be like, oh no, she doesn't want me to go because I only have 2 days with her. She doesn't, and I put all these stories onto her about why I shouldn't go. It had nothing to do with her. It had everything to do with me just not taking care of myself. So I actually go ahead. I created a pyramid, and it's called, the base is self-care, it's yourself. The next one is your family and everybody else. And then the top little tip is work. Now, most people flip it upside down and do work, everybody else, self-care. And the fucking thing falls over all the time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I work with a lot of moms, and like, oh my God, moms are like the queens of that. Like the guilt of like, I don't want to go to the gym because I should be spending that time with like my kids. And it's like, but how are you going to be fit enough to like keep up with your kids and go do cool shit with them if you're not healthy and in shape, you know?
I had a call with a lady the other day that wants to join the police, but she's like, oh no, I'm too busy because I got 3 kids and now I got to do this, and my partner's working 6 days a week, and I can't do this. It's just not the right time to be able to do it with, you know, myself. And I was like, why not? And she's like, oh, because I got to look after the kids. You know, they come first. I was like, and how's that been going for you? And she's like, I'm like, you know, I'm tired. I've got no motivation, blah, blah, blah. I was like, what would happen if you put yourself first? She's like, oh, I can't do that. I was like, this is your dilemma. You start to put yourself first, you're actually going to give more time, more energy to your kids because you're going to be more motivated. You're not going to be as tired. You're going to be actually uplifted and empowered because you're looking after yourself instead of resenting the fact that you're having to look after the kids every single day.
Yep. 100%. And so much of that is ingrained in women too. Like so much of that is a paradigm shift that like just needs to be had right now of like, women should just be selfless and give to everyone and then not expect or need anything or ask for anything. And it's a big thing.
It's ingrained from like 100 years ago kind of culture.
Yeah.
But I think also it's ingrained more in women when they have kids, but I think it's ingrained in everybody to look after everybody else, and really the thing is though, is you can't look after somebody else if you haven't looked after yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, Chris. You've got a team that kind of works with you with your business, and that correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you do to help make sure that they don't go through burnout? Because I know there's a lot of people that listen that are business owners and entrepreneurs and that. Yeah. So what would be some tools that you use to help make sure that they don't burn out as well?
Well, both of my girls have been through my program. So I hired graduates. Yeah. Mainly partially because of that reason. Like I didn't want someone coming to represent my company that didn't already embody what my company stands for. So for me, I only hire graduates for that reason, because I really believe like the skills that they learn inside my program are the things that they need for life on a day-to-day basis in order to be successful for whoever they're working for. But we do a lot with flexibility. Like I actually check in with them just to make sure, like when I know that I'm putting a lot on them, like I will pause and check in and be like, hey, I just want to make sure, are you okay? Is this workload okay? Do we need to shift anything around? And give them the space to be able to be like, hey, like I need to like, because they are working online and it's easy to just work every day all the time. And so I very much like make them take a day off. I'm like, you're not allowed to, I know you love this like I do, but you're also not allowed to work all day every day. So we do some of that, boundaries with computers and phones. One of my former employees, I remember she would respond to my WhatsApps at like 11 o'clock at night. And I would respond back. I'd be like, why are you on your phone? Like this, you should not be in the office right now. Right. And I think that now is so relatable to so many people because everyone is now working online from home. And all of a sudden, these people that had separation of office and home no longer do. And we actually just did, right when the pandemic hit, my friend Bethany and I did a podcast on like how to basically like, it was about sort of like how to be an athlete at the beginning of the pandemic, but we talk a lot about like how to set yourself up to work from home, to create boundaries. Otherwise it's just all smushed together and it doesn't work. So for example, things that I do is like at the end of my workday, right? I close my computer. I have a specific spot where it goes that signals to me that this is the end of the workday, like we're done. And I teach them to do the same thing because you have to create that separation. Otherwise you're just going to work yourself to death. And honestly, if it's not your own company, you're just working yourself to death for someone else's dream.
Yeah, no, I like that. Yeah, I have a room in our apartment that is literally my office, and so when I walk in there, it's like, sweet, let's go. When I walk out, and I used to be like, but now it's like, yeah, I walk in. Sometimes I'll work on the couch, but that's only normally when my wife's working from home as well now, obviously. But yeah, no, it's really important. I remember one of my clients, this is before the pandemic, and she was struggling with that she wanted to be a cop, but she was working like the job she does, she really loves because it's working with like our youth and family, like if kids are how do you describe it?
Is it like social services?
Social services, yeah, kind of like social services. So she was working with them and she was starting to get burned out with that because she wanted to be training so much to, get the place. And so her mind was on that. And I was like, think of this. And it comes back to an NLP type tool. And I was like, think as you walk through that front door into your office, you no longer are training to get into the place. You no longer have any of that other stuff that get left at the door. You walk in, you're now doing your current job and you're solely focused on that. You walk out, that job gets left at home, it gets left in the building, and you now become that person who wants to become the cop that wants all of this stuff. And as soon as she started to do that, it made a huge difference. And just like you said, having that spot where you can put the computer is like, you know, and it's like, cool, I'm done now. Yeah, definitely hit the boundaries. I think you said boundaries quite a few times, and it's such an important thing for burnout.
They're my favorite thing now. I love the word no.
Yeah, I love it. I had clients, because I teach this all the time with my clients as well, because obviously if you're training too hard, you're gonna get burned out, you're gonna get injured, you're not actually ever gonna get that. And I go, just so you guys know, if you message me and you don't hear from me, it's because I'm fucking busy, or because I'm saying no. And I was like, I love saying no. I want you guys to start saying no. And I've actually had clients where I'm like, okay, cool. Your task for this week is just to say no.
Yes, I've done that too.
Really struggled with that. And it took her about 2 weeks to start. And she's like, oh my God, I'm saying no. I said no to going and doing this, and I just went for a walk. And she's like, I feel amazing. And it's like, yeah.
It's so great. People don't understand they can say no. I did that with one of my clients too. And then I had another one where I told her she had to delegate all of her tasks to other people. And like we cleared up so much space in her life, because she thought, well, I have to do it. I'm the only one that could do it. And like she delegated everything. She delegated dishes to the kids in roller derby. As a president of her roller derby league, she delegated all of the responsibilities to other people. Like, it was so great. And all of a sudden she was like, wow, this is amazing. I'm like, yeah, welcome to your free life, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I have people fire things. I'm like, I want you to fire 3 things this week. Or 3 people. I want you to fire the 3 things that are the most destructive thing in your life right now. And they'll be like, but what? No, I can't do that, because, and I'm like, why not? You don't like it, get rid of it. If it's somebody that is destructive to you, get rid of them. And they'll come back if they're actually meant to come back. Otherwise, they'll piss off, and you don't need them in your life anyways, because every time you talk to them or deal with them, they put you down.
Well, and that's a whole form of burnout, right? Like, I am so particular about who is in my life now. Like, the time that I have that I spend with other people, like, if you are not someone that adds value to my life, like, you will not be in that circle, because it does. I always ask myself when I leave like a interaction with someone or some hangout time with someone, like, how do I feel better or worse? Do I feel higher energy or lower energy after that interaction? And if it's someone who like pulls me down, it's not worth my time. I'm not going to burn myself out on just surrounding myself with people because I feel like I should.
It takes a lot of energy. I mean, I have a friend of mine who's a cop still at the moment, and he and I met back when we were at police college, you know, at the academy. And he and I are really, really good friends. And I remember, like, at one stage I was going through the same thing. I was getting rid of people out of my life. I was just like, nah, I just don't even deal with this negativity. Like, I even like stopped following any kind of police stuff and that, because I was like, I just need to be on a positive high so I can come back to this and give good value. And so like with my buddy, like at one stage he was like real negative, and I actually called him on it. I was like, dude, what's going on? Because I was like, I've been where you're at. What's going on? And because I care about him, he's like a brother to me. Like, I literally, you know, it's like that brother side of things that you create, you know it. I mean,
same thing in Derby. Yeah.
You know, I'm like, dude, I want to keep you around, but like, what the fuck's going on? Let's sort this out. And he actually started to step, and like, I've watched him grow over this last like 2 years. But again, it's that thing of having that hard conversation of going, what's going on here? I'm going to either get rid of you out of here because I need to, or let's grow together. And so he did. He started to grow. And so there's that side of stuff as well. By sometimes firing somebody or getting to that verge of firing somebody, you actually help them more than by keeping around and just going, oh yeah, I get it. Yeah, you know, that's
yeah.
Because
you know what you did? You set a boundary.
Yeah, I set a boundary.
It's the greatest thing. I love boundaries so much.
They're awesome. It's funny, like, I'll have boundaries with clients as well. I'll be like, you know, guys, sometimes I just won't answer because, like, 1, I'm busy. 1, I need boundaries. But 2, by me setting a boundary and not actually doing it, half the time you'll figure it out yourself anyways.
It's true. It's true. They just need enough time to figure it out. Yeah, we do that too. Like, for example, I don't do any text messaging with clients. It's not that I don't love them. It's just I can't, from a mental space of burnout, like I can't have that stuff popping up because I don't like having unread things on my phone. So we actually, for one part of my business, we use Telegram. Like I work with part of my business on Telegram. My employees and I use WhatsApp as our office. So like everything goes through there. And then all of our clients, we use a fitness app where they all have their profiles in there and they can message the coaches directly, because it's like, there's no way it will come to my phone. I actually have a program called Boss Babes Business Bootcamp, and I teach women how to scale fitness businesses online. It's sort of like a second program I have. And it's one of the first things I teach them is your text message zone is not a client zone, because you will burn the fuck out. And so I teach them to do the same thing, to separate it, to have office hours. Like you have to, otherwise you're going to fizzle.
Yeah. I created, because of that same thing, I created, like, they have my number. I'm like, if it's really, really important, first port of call, Facebook group, second port of call, Facebook Messenger group. Because there's other people in there that'll answer it as well. I was like, third port of call, if like it's life or death, then cool, you have my phone number, but otherwise use that as the last resort unless I text you. Because same thing. I'm like, and my thing is I'm creating a group of, they all want to be cops. They need to be able to look after each other. And so it's that thing of so that's all the boundaries. That's probably the biggest thing so far.
So good. Don't want to burn out. You just set that shit right up.
Set boundaries and set harsh ones. So Chrissy, I'm a huge why guy. I like to know people's whys. I know, like, my why is I want to create less pain in people's lives. Just in my own experiences, as well as back to my childhood, see my parents argue. I mean, I couldn't ask for a better childhood, really. But I mean, I sailed around the world as a teenager, so can't really
that's on my list.
Surfing, my first experience of surfing was in the Tuamotus, so you know. And then like surfing at breaks off Moorea, off of a surfing resort break that I managed to get myself into, and the guys were like, "Where are you from?" I was like, "From that boat," and they're like, fuck it, you can come surf with us.
Yeah, come on, man.
Mine was more bodyboarding, so it pissed some people off in the beginning, but you know.
I bet.
But so I'm a why guy. I like to know people's whys, because I figure my belief is that if you know your why, if you know really deeply why you're doing something, and you have that deep why or purpose, whichever one you want to call it, it gets you through those hard times when, like, you're burning out, but it's not really a burnout. But also in the easier times, it makes you just explode. And keeps going through all of it. So Chrissy, what would you say if I asked you what your why was? What would you say your why is?
Like my why right now, or like, I mean, I feel like I've had so many whys. So
what I find is there's actually one underlying why. There's an underlying why that actually overlooks all of the littler whys, but it's there's an umbrella why. Would you say you know what your umbrella why is?
Yeah, I think I have my umbrella why for the planet, and then I have like my umbrella why for myself. So for the planet, the reason why I do everything that I do is for generational change. I don't know whether I'm going to have kids or not. I'm 38. I really believe that the way to help the next generation is to heal this generation. And so I really believe that by working with primarily moms, I'm helping make mothers better moms, so that kids are then now growing up learning things like boundaries, learning things like positive communication, learning things like health and healthy eating, and what the value of being an active person. And so I really believe that if I can help these mothers be those people, then what I'm actually doing is creating a ripple effect into the next generations and the generations beyond. So for me, that's why I work so hard, even though at this point I probably don't have to. But for me, like, that's what lights me up every single day.
Where does that stem from? Do you know?
I have no idea. I really don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'm thinking. I think it's become more solidified for me lately, sort of at the point of like, turning 38 almost, and like really realizing like that I'm probably not going to have children.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, if we go all Tony Robbins on it, is that what you were looking for? I got you.
So
No.
what I find is your umbrella why actually stems back to your childhood. Like mine stems back to seeing my parents fight, not wanting them to fight, because I wanted just loving the family, and that because my parents were so busy off working all the time. When they were around, I wanted them around as a kid. And it took a lot of work to figure that out. But then I recognized, and I always thought it was because like what I do now is because of my policing experience and being burned out in that. But then I actually did some deeper work on myself, recognized, it comes all the way back to my childhood. The reason I joined the police was the same thing. I saw a train crash. Like I never wanted to be a cop as a kid, ever. I was like, why would I want to do that? I want to be the naughty kid. I want to be able to just do whatever I want. And then I saw a train crash in LA that happened. A freight train collided with a commercial train back in 2008. And I think it was 23 people died. And I was actually driving across the bridge, and we saw the smoke, and people were looking off over the sides. Like it had just happened. We were driving to my uncle's house to have some Thanksgiving dinner. Like it was before Thanksgiving, but like, just have dinner with him. And on our way back, we saw it at the time, the gas station pumps had the TVs on them, and it was breaking news that was happening there. I sat there and watched it. All I wanted to be was down there helping those people.
Wow.
But that literally was my spark to it. That next day I booked LASIK eye surgery in LA. And I went for my first run. That I was not a runner at the time. And I went for my first run up in the hills of Topanga Canyon. Was it Topanga? No, it was up in the hills, like way up in the hills of LA, where it's fucking like they were all old like A-frame, like fucking houses like built on the cliffside. And so I went up and I just ran through the hills. And so looking back on it, all those leading things kept, and it's all the same umbrella. It's the same umbrella.
Yeah.
The pain.
It's like breadcrumbs, and I could see that. So I could see that looking back then. Obviously joining roller derby, changing my life. Like if I hadn't found roller derby, I mean, I had like a casual meth habit. Like it was not going to be a real good road for me if I stayed the direction that I was going. And so, I really do believe like there's a saying in like roller derby saved my soul. I mean, it did. Becoming an athlete changed my life. Yeah. Not to say, I played sports growing up, but it was it was different as an adult choosing to play a sport.
Yeah.
And then, to go back even further, I do remember, in New York, going to my grandparents' house. And my aunts were both very, very obese. They've both since had like gastric bypass surgery, and, they've lost a lot of weight. But I remember being very young and like almost like not like afraid of them, because they were my wonderful aunts and I love them, but I knew that I never wanted to be that way. And so from a young age, like very much wanting to have like a healthy life and a healthy body, like driven from seeing sort of like what the opposite looked like. So I could see how it could all drive together.
So then it all drives together, and that's why you do what you do now, because of all that. And
it's significance and security. Significance and is it security? Security, is that one?
Certainty.
Significance and certainty drive the shit out of my life.
Yeah. In a positive way, I hope.
Oh, absolutely. Well, sometimes positive, sometimes negative. Mostly positive.
Is probably actually more of, if we go Tony Robbins on it, it's probably actually more of growth than it is actually significance if it's in a positive way. Because the significance is a byproduct of the growth of not just yourself, but others.
Yeah, but I really like it when people like my Facebook posts, and it makes me feel good when someone tells me that their life has changed. Like I did that kind of thing.
But the life has changed.
That's also contribution.
I was going to say that's contribution, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting thing because we all run on all of them, but it's an interesting one. I know I used to run a lot on significance. I used to think people judged me all the time. That was my primary question.
Still do.
Yeah.
Still do. Every day I'm like that. Say again?
Have you done Date with Destiny?
I have not. I have it. I have to wait for. I mean, I have it paid for. I want to do it in person. I don't want to do it online.
Yeah, I agree. I did it end of 2018 in Florida.
Nice.
blew my
So
mind.
amazing.
Like blew my mind. Anybody listening, if you haven't done it, at least do the virtual one. But yeah, the in-person one, like we did 90 hours in 6 days. And like you talk about fucking feeling burned out, but there's a whole purpose of it because he wants to rip you apart. He rips you apart and then puts you back together. Like 180-degree shift. Wouldn't be right here if it wasn't for that thing. And my mom
crazy.
My mom took my wife and I to it.
Wow. Was that before Business Mastery?
Yeah. So I bought Business Mastery at that.
Interesting. Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm excited I definitely want to do it in person though.
Yeah.
So I'm holding out.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So we know your why. So if you had to put your why into a statement, what would it be?
I think it's what I said, to create positive generational change for the planet.
Cool. Awesome.
Pretty
now,
clear.
If somebody else was struggling to figure out their why, what would you say to them?
I would ask them, what impact do you want to make? What do you want people to say about you when you die?
That's a good one. I like that. So, okay. What would you want people to say about you?
That she made generational change for the entire planet.
Cool. Awesome. I love it. All right. So what would be the number one piece of advice you would give to listeners when it comes to creating generational change?
We have one life, and we can either float through it or we can grow through it. And anyone who chooses to make themselves better is inevitably choosing to make the future generations better. And honestly, it's the only way that we can make change is when people individually choose to become better.
I like it. So, Chrissy, tell me, so obviously you have a really good business. You're helping lots of people. You're helping people grow, change as themselves to be able to then help the generations ahead. So if people are wanting to get in touch with you to, maybe reach out to you, talk to you, or even just wanting to reach out to you to get your services, to get help from you, because everybody resonates with different people, differently.
Yeah.
So how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah. Well, you can find me on Instagram at Krissy Krash, KRISSY They can also go to krissykrash.com. And it just depends. I help people again, with fitness, nutrition, mindset through our Crash Course and Transformation 12-week program. I help entrepreneurs that are building businesses primarily in the fitness industry, but I have worked with people in several other industries through the business boot camp. So either one of those, we offer like 5-day eat clean challenges. We offer 7-day, build a better athlete challenges. We've got a lot of stuff that people can toe dip into. So the best way would be to definitely follow me on Instagram. And I would actually love to know what people got from this podcast. So it would be super cool if someone got something from this and it resonated with them, just shoot me a direct message on Instagram. I love hearing from people and like how they see like they gain perspective from the stuff that I share.
Yeah, same. Reach out to either one of us. Anything that you send to myself, which is, Knocking Demon Coaching on Instagram. Send it to me. I'll forward it through to Chrissy as well. But we'll have all the links for Chrissy, how to get in touch with Chrissy, and that in the details of in the description of this podcast, anyways. But that's awesome. So, last question I have for you, Chrissy, is what is the number one thing you would tell viewers to help prevent or counter burnout?
Boundaries. Set motherfucking boundaries, because everyone is going to try to get their agenda out of you, and you have to create your own agenda. You have to create what it is that you want for your life, because otherwise you're just building everyone else's. Like, and it's not a selfish thing to want to live a good life, to want to be rested. Like, you can do all of that and make an impact on the people around you.
That's awesome. Yeah. I actually tell people to be selfish. I was like, screw it.
Yes.
Just be selfish, because you're not actually being selfish, because humans just love to give to other people. So you're being selfish so you can give more. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. Okay.
Boundaries.
Any last words, Chrissy?
I think that's it. Thank you so much for having me on. We're definitely gonna have to tag team. I'd love to have another conversation. So we'll definitely have to have you on the podcast.
Yeah, I'll get on your
In the near
podcast.
future.
In the future, we'll do another one. We'll do another episode with you as well, because this has been awesome.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this.
So great. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. So that's the episode of Fight the Burnout with Kristen Krash, all around fitness, nutrition, boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. And so remember, we bring experiences from everybody, from all walks of life, from every kind of job, anything that you do. We interview people in all those different aspects, so that you can get a perspective from different angles. So remember, like, subscribe, do all those fun things, hit the notifications so you get all the fun new episodes. And we'll talk to you next time. Remember, our motto is train hard, test easy, so that your mind and body are in tune.